well. I wished that maybe she might find me interesting, and perhaps, just perhaps, get the courage to actually ask her out on a date. I had daydreamed so often about this moment. There were so many jokes and cute remarks I pictured myself saying in every imaginary conversation. She laughed and smiled constantly. She was interested in me, at least in my head. But in the real world, Allison didn't even know my name. Perhaps this was my chance to finally change this fact. The problem was, I had rushed to get to the elevator before the door closed. I wish that she hadn't seen me running, because that would have been so lame. I actually placed my foot in between the doors to keep them from closing, and managed to get inside just in time. When I stepped inside, she gave me a sweet little smile, and then looked up ahead again. As I had imagined, the floor she had selected was the one leading up to the library. She was so responsible and well-read. I know that might not sound like an amazing trait to some people, but to me, it only made me fancy her more. Anyways, I kept trying to talk to her, and knew that the elevator train would be super short. And every time I tried to open my mouth, I felt sick to my stomach. When I thought all hope was lost, something strange happened. The elevator suddenly rocked from side to side, and then came to a sudden halt. I almost fell to the ground, but I managed to hold her just before she tripped over. I ended up with my arms wrapped around her, leaning back against the lift's wall to regain my balance. She blushed and thanked me, standing back up. I felt awful about not having her in my arms any longer, but I couldn't let her know that, so I just smiled timidly and shrugged. We both tried to see what was wrong with the elevator, but it seemed just to be stuck. So we pressed the emergency button and decided it was best to wait for help to arrive. She gave me a few awkward looks, but we just stood there in perfect silence for the first few minutes or two. Finally, she introduced herself, and I pretended I didn't already know her name. I did tell her I thought I had seen her in a few of my classes, and she seemed surprised. Apparently, she had never even noticed me before. That kind of stung, but I shrugged it off. The past didn't matter any longer, only the future. And if I played my cards right, there might be a future for both of us after all. The conversation was admittedly a bit awkward at first. We talked about our classes and the weather, and we kept getting stuck in these uncomfortable silences before one of us dared to speak again. After a while, we tried pressing the button again and heard it ring. Surely someone would be there to help us out shortly, we figured out. After all, the bell was really loud. So we began talking more openly, and that made me feel better. She was really funny, just like I had imagined. But the problem was, minutes kept going by and no one came to help us. That was when we began to get really nervous. Alice and I decided to begin screaming for help and banging on the walls of the elevator. No one answered. I checked the time and realized that by that hour, every single student had left already, and probably most of the teachers. We were stuck in there, and might have to stay locked in an elevator all through the weekend. We immediately began freaking out for real. It took us some time to calm down. She was in tears, but I reminded her that our parents would get worried soon, so we might have to wait a few hours, but someone would eventually come to help us. Or so I hoped. She seemed to believe me and wiped off her tears. I mean, I know we both understood that even if our parents realized we were missing, they might not think to look for us at school. But it was a reassuring thought, and we both clung together. Panicking would only make a bad situation worse. I suggested we play a game to relax, and she agreed. And asking questions. And silly questions stopped. I really learned a lot from Allison, and I told her a lot about myself. I'd never felt closer to anyone in my life. The right time to admit my feelings had finally arrived. I was going to do it, at long last. I was going to tell Allison that I was in love with her, and I wanted to take her out on a real date. But before I managed to speak up, she suddenly blurted out that she was pregnant. I was in absolute shock. I asked her what she was talking about. Apparently she'd been keeping that secret bottled up for 2 weeks, and she couldn't deal with it any longer. She needed to tell someone, and I seemed like such a sweet and trustworthy guy. Allison explained that she was dating this guy from another school, and she didn't even realize that morning sickness began. She tried telling him about it, but the guy was apparently not very nice. He once began joking about how he'd run away in a second if a chick ever tried to tie him down with a pregnancy tray. Yes, he used the word chick. What a girl like Allison a guy like that, I couldn't understand. Sure, she got pregnant. She didn't dare tell him, and her parents would be super mad and disappointed with her. Allison told me she felt stuck, and she didn't know where to go for help. I told her that she didn't have to feel that way. It was a bump on the road, but she was smart and strong enough to pull through any adversity. She was so thankful and called me sweet, giving me a peck on the cheek. It was the best and worst moment of my life. I enjoyed the kiss, but I also knew that she was going out with another guy now. So yeah, you can say it was a bittersweet moment. The problem was, it was already really dark outside, and no one had come looking for us. We were both really hungry and didn't know how long we would be stuck. We were getting really worried again that no one would rescue us until Monday. I had a few crackers and a bit of leftovers from my lunch that I shared with Allison, and that ended up being our dinner. Teasingly, I told her that this was sort of a date, and she chuckled at my joke. I wasn't really joking, though, or at least I hoped I wasn't. We barely slept at all that night, too worried and scared to rest. She did place her head on my shoulder and took a short nap, though. Allison was so warm and smelled so good. It was so much temptation to have her there, so close to me. Morning arrived, and still there wasn't any sign that anyone was coming to rescue us. We were getting thirsty, and we shared the last drops of juice that she had in her bag. That was it. From then on, we didn't have anything else to drink or eat, and it was only Saturday. We were really starting to freak out, but I didn't want to let her know that I was scared. After all, she was pregnant, and stress wasn't good for the baby. I tried to distract her by telling her silly stories and talking about my life. I also asked her a lot of questions about her personal life, and little by little, I got her to calm down. It was such a relief. Seeing her doing better made me relax as well. We talked for hours and hours, and really enjoyed each other's company. Sure, the situation was horrible, but at least we had each other. By midday, I finally decided I had nothing to lose. I admitted my feelings for her, and told Allison that a guy like her boyfriend didn't deserve her. If she was with me, I'd help her take care of her baby. She was so surprised at first, but a moment later she smiled. Allison told me that was the sweetest thing that anyone had ever said to her. And then, she kissed me. I couldn't believe what was happening. The kiss was everything I had imagined and more. It was truly a magical moment, and I forgot all what was trapped in that elevator. Suddenly, we heard noises coming from a floor down. Someone was screaming her name. We called back, relieved and surprised. It was the school's janitor, accompanied by the principal and Allison's parents. They knew their daughter would never disappear like that, and that she had been heading toward the library, so they contacted the school's headmaster. No one knew I was there, but I, later on, found out that my parents had gone to the police. Problem was they had no idea where to begin searching for me. We were freed half an hour later, and I had never felt more relieved. Allison hugged her parents, and then she blurted out that she was pregnant. They were so relieved that she was okay that they didn't really get mad at her, so getting stuck in an elevator might have been a blessing after all. The very next day, I got a text from Allison asking me to hang out. She dumped her good-for-nothing boyfriend and wanted to know if I really meant what I said in the lift. I told her I did, and officially asked her out on a date. That was 5 years ago. Now we're married, and I adopted Allison's daughter. She's the most amazing little girl in the world. Thank you for watching.
Hi, my name is Sally, and I want to tell you how I caught my mom going down on my boyfriend. I know, I couldn't believe it either when it happened, but I swear I saw it with my own 2 eyes. It was utterly insane. So, the story begins a bit before my suspicions even started. I had been dating this amazing guy, George, for 2 years by then. He was sweet, respectful, and earned a good living. My mom absolutely adored him. They got along super well, which of course I thought was great at first. But then I began noticing something was off. You see, my mom is a divorcee, and a rather beautiful one at that. She usually flirts with guys half her age, so she's what you could call a cougar. That being said, she had never tried anything inappropriate with George. That made sense, since he's her daughter's boyfriend. But before we move on, hit like and smash that subscribe button. This will let you live 10 amazing years longer. Trust me, it works. A few months back, I began to notice something was definitely changing. My mom and George spoke more often than usual, and once I actually caught him texting on his phone with my mom. Why would he need to do that? I asked him about it, and he made up some silly story about how she was sending him a recipe to surprise me with. What a laugh. George can't even cook rice, let alone an elaborate dinner. Anyways, I really tried to give them the benefit of the doubt. George was such a sweetheart, and I really believed he loved me and my mom. Well, she was my mom, and she did a great job raising me. The problem was, I had my heart broken a few years back by a cheating boyfriend, and I guess I'm still not fully over that. As I said, I really did try to ignore my suspicions, but they began sneaking off together more and more often. There was something going on, something fishy. I didn't like it one tiny bit. I confronted both of them, yet they denied any wrongdoing. I was so angry, but the truth of the matter was, I didn't have any proof. When they walked away after the argument, I actually heard my mom whispering to my boyfriend. Wow, that was close. That was when I became determined to catch them in their lies and show the entire world what kind of mother and boyfriend I really had. Because there was no doubt in my mind by then that they were cheating on me. I began following them around. They went to all sorts of places. They had lunch at Morton's Steakhouse, which is really pricey. A receipt of $400. They even talked to the owner, so my mom probably was a friend of his. It was so humiliating, my mom and my boyfriend having a date together like that. Then they went into Kay Jewelry Store. Could it be that he was buying her a gift? Or something for me in order not to feel so guilty? One way or another, it was messed up, and I wasn't going to wear it for an instant if it was meant for me. I was going to dump that cheating crook and cut all ties with my mom for good. And then, near a park, they scurried away to a more deserted area. What was going on? I followed behind them, my heart racing. They weren't going to do something dirty in public, right? When I arrived at the spot they were hiding in, I saw my mom going down on my boyfriend. Well, she was kneeling on one knee, but surely they were about to go at it. What are you two doing? I screamed, and my mom jumped to her feet in surprise. My boyfriend instead just started laughing. I couldn't understand how he could be chuckling at a time like this. You really can't stop yourself from being so jealous, can you, silly girl? He asked me tenderly, and I was about to protest when I noticed the little box my mom was holding. It was open, and inside it was the engagement ring of my dreams. When I was a little girl, I used to dream about my fantasy wedding. Mom would play with me, and I'd tell her how I wanted the ring to be like. Super expensive, white and gold ring, several tiny diamonds surrounding a large pearl. And there it was. The ring I had been hoping for ever since I was 9. Oh my gosh, I screamed. Mom was laughing as well now. She explained to me that she wanted to make sure my boyfriend knew how to properly kneel to ask me to marry him. I didn't even give poor George the time to do any of the things my mom had been training him to. I jumped into his arms and kissed him, telling him I'd love to marry him. Well, that's how I totally ruined my surprise engagement party, but it doesn't really matter. Mom and George weren't having lunch at the restaurant. They were tasting the menu options for the dinner of all my friends were invited to. The dinner was amazing, and George proposed to me there, this time kneeling in front of me. I was so moved by his sweetness. The ring is truly magical, everything I could have hoped for and more. And my mom? Well, I apologized for being so mistrusting by asking her to be my bridesmaid. She said yes. She still teases me every day about how jealous I got, but I don't mind. I'm just happy they were only hanging out to make me happy. Thank you for watching. What's the worst thing you've done out of jealousy? Let us know in the comments. Don't forget to check out our other videos on the channel and subscribe.
Hi, my name is Len, and I know this will sound crazy, but I actually am unable to feel pain. This might sound like an amazing trait, but it can be really dangerous. Let me tell you my story. When I was a little kid, I didn't know that I was different from other children my age. I would watch TV shows and movies and get so confused whenever I saw someone getting hurt. They would cry in pain or sob or something, and I didn't understand what was happening to them. You see, I was born with a rare condition that basically eradicated all the receptors in my brain. The doctors aren't sure if I was born without them or if they were destroyed. But back then I didn't know any of that. I just thought people were weird.
I've never experienced pain, and so I can't even relate to it. The very idea of something hurting is foreign to me. Imagine growing up not knowing what pain feels like, or even understanding how it works. I remember a kid falling down in class one day and bumping his head against the desk. He cried and was sent to the nurse's office. I was so confused, and everyone looked so worried. Why did the kid sob like that? Why was he holding his head and saying it ached? I had bumped my head plenty of times, and I had felt, well, nothing at all. I wanted to ask the teacher about it, but then I suddenly realized, what if I was the one getting weird? What if there was something wrong with me, and my classmates made fun of me? So I decided to remain silent and pretend I was worried. It wasn't too hard, because I was worried, but not about the day's pain. I was hoping someone would realize I was different, but no one even looked at me. I decided it was best to just stay quiet about it and move on with my life. Surely I would also feel that thing called pain one day. If everyone suffered it, I was going to as well one day, right? Well, no. And I would discover it in a rather dramatic fashion. My parents had no idea I was unique. They just thought I was a really resilient kid. Mom was so proud that I was so brave when I had my shots or when I scraped my knees. She would tell other mothers how I wouldn't even flinch when the nurse came close to me with a big needle. Little did she know that I wasn't afraid because I had no idea what pain actually was. If something couldn't hurt me, why would I get worried about it? And so my mom and dad didn't notice my condition for the first few years of my life. And it wasn't until I had my first big accident that everything changed. It all happened so fast. No one was to blame for the accident, but it was still really scary. Or so my parents tell me. The truth is, I wasn't afraid at all. I was playing at the playground after lunch one day. Mom had insisted we go to the park so I wouldn't spend all day long glued to the TV. I was really excited since that meant I'd be able to run around and be silly. We had been in the playground for a while when I decided to go for the swings. I loved them. It was so much fun to go as high as I could. It felt like I was flying. I remember Mom warned me not to go so high, but I didn't listen. I just chuckled and tried to jump forward. I was planning on landing on my feet smoothly, but I messed up. Instead, I landed on my right arm and heard my mom scream a few feet away from me. She later told me I hit the ground really hard, but I didn't feel a thing. I didn't even bat an eye, didn't cry for help, didn't get scared. Mom and Dad saw everything, and they were freaking out. It was clearly hurt, but I didn't react at all. They asked me if I was okay, and I replied that I was fine, and if I could go back to play. They were really worried because they saw my arm look like it was bent the wrong way. Still, I didn't complain or anything. They decided to take me to the ER just in case. You know how sometimes the adrenaline keeps people from feeling pain and then it hits them all at once? Well, that's what my parents figured was happening to me. When a doctor finally got to us, he checked me out and immediately did an x-ray on me. He didn't look too happy, and this concerned my parents. Why was the doctor frowning if I looked like it didn't hurt at all? Surely it couldn't be that bad. It turned out I had a very badly fractured arm. The doctor was in shock that I wasn't complaining or screaming since it was supposed to be a really painful injury. I actually had to undergo surgery to help my arm heal properly. It was that bad. The nurses asked me as I woke up from the anesthesia if something hurt. I just replied that it didn't. The doctor wanted to see if I could really go without painkillers after the surgery. I didn't even feel the difference. The whole staff was fascinated by my case. I didn't take any pain medication during my stay there and felt perfectly okay. In fact, my mom had to threaten to ground me just to keep me in bed. It was important that I lay still for a few days to recover. The problem was I felt just fine and was bored out of my mind. My parents didn't know what to make of it and decided to take me to a specialist. After all, I was supposed to feel pain. What could possibly be wrong with me? It took the doctors several tests to finally figure out what was happening. An MRI image showed a lack of transmission, a great method of usually decode pain. Though I technically should be able to feel it, my brain was unable to process and react. The doctor said it was an incredibly rare condition and that there were very few documented cases in the world. I was very unique, and honestly, I thought it was really cool. My parents were against their word. With this newfound knowledge, I became incredibly reckless. I was known in the neighborhood as the daredevil kid on the street, and it only got worse as I grew up. I would get into all kinds of problems and always be looking for my next adrenaline fix. I would jump off really high things and do all kinds of dangerous stunts. Teens in my school were always challenging me to try new and weird stuff, and I always took them up on it. I won every single bet and made good money off it. My mom would always check how I was whenever I got home, and she begged me to be more careful. I loved my mother to please, but I had grown too used to being a daredevil to stop. I loved testing my limits. Plus, honestly, I kind of wanted to discover if anything would actually make me feel good at all. The doctors said it was impossible, but I like experimenting with things for myself. I'll be honest and say I've had a lot of broken limbs over the years, plus many more broken noses and even fingers. I'm okay with that. I just go to the hospital and they patch me up. My mom freaks out every single time. I apologize, but we both know I'll do it all over again soon. Sometimes I don't even realize I have a fracture until someone lets me know I'm walking kind of weird. A lot of my friends got jealous of me over the years, but they still love seeing me perform cool tricks for them. Now, as fun as this all sounds, there is a big problem here. I have no way of knowing if I get hurt or not. It's kind of a mess, especially for someone so reckless as I am. Doing something as simple as running is dangerous because I can't tell if I stepped up. On something sharp, or if I bent my knee or something like that. Each morning when I wake up, I have to check to see if I didn't scratch my body or something. I also have to be really careful when I'm cooking, because if I ever burn or cut myself, I won't feel it at all. Sure, I don't suffer at all, but my body still gets hurt. I could get a really bad burn and have to be hospitalized, all because I'm completely immune to pain. Imagine needing to be super careful about anything you do, and checking yourself in the mirror every 2 hours. It gets so boring, and I'm not exactly the most patient guy in the world. Sometimes I forget and then suffer the consequences. For instance, I once got a really bad infection, and since I didn't realize anything was wrong, I ended up in the hospital for an entire week. The doctors pumped so many antibiotics into me, and I didn't feel a thing. Another time, I suddenly began feeling super sick. Nothing hurt, of course, but I was rushing to the toilet every 5 minutes. I couldn't retain any liquids, and Mom got really worried. The doctor at the ER at first didn't pay me much attention. He said that most symptoms pointed toward me having appendicitis, but since I wasn't in pain, it was impossible. When my mom explained my condition, he got really worried. They examined me, and apparently my appendix was about to burst. I could have been a goner, and all because I didn't feel a thing. If my mom hadn't been so quick in taking me to see a doctor, it would have been a really big mess. I'm grateful my mother is so protective and helps me constantly, but she can be a bit overwhelming from time to time. From the moment she discovered my condition, she began to act so weirdly. She wanted me to have someone with me at all times, but I refused. I want to grow to be a normal person and have a happy life, even if I can't feel pain. Ever since then, I've tried to be more careful, but honestly, it's still kind of hard. I have a girlfriend now, and she is a lifesaver. She reminds me to check my body for cuts and scrapes, and also keeps me from doing foolish stuff. I've also quit doing daredevil stunts, at least for now. I need to learn to listen to my body even if I don't feel any pain. After all, I want to live to be old and maybe even marry the girl I'm dating. She is amazing, and she...
Hi, my name is Sally, and I want to tell you how I caught my mom going down on my boyfriend. I know, I couldn't believe it either when it happened, but I swear I saw it with my own 2 eyes. It was utterly insane. So, the story begins a bit before my suspicions even started. I had been dating this amazing guy, George, for 2 years by then. He was sweet, respectful, and earned a good living. My mom absolutely adored him. They got along super well, which of course I thought at first. But then I found out something was off. See, my mom, of course, is a rather beautiful woman. She usually flirts with guys half her age, so she's what you could call a cougar. That being said, she had never tried anything inappropriate with George. That made sense, since he's her...
Hello, my name is Alan, and I have a confession to make. I have a secret relationship with my hot teacher. I was really lucky as a child. I would always be one of the most popular kids in school. I also had the best grades every single year. I had it really easy. It was a breeze going through primary and middle school. Even high school was easy at first. I got along with most everyone, and girls thought I was handsome. So I even got dates whenever I wanted, and always got picked first during gym class. My parents were not so laid back as I was, though. They were really strict and would never be happy with anything less than perfection. That made the time I spent at school so much better than the one I spent with them at home. When I was in school with my friends, everything was perfect. Teachers loved me, everyone wanted to hang out with me, and I had so much fun. During lunch break, I'd sit with my best friends and joke around. I did well in every single class, and, though I studied, I didn't have to struggle with any subject. However, when I arrived home, my parents began bugging me. Every single small detail had to be perfect in our home. That meant I had to make my bed every morning, eat everything they cooked no matter if I didn't like it, and get nothing but straight A's. Even a B was unacceptable, and I'd be grounded for a long time. Imagine if I were to arrive home with an F. My parents would have killed me. They got mad if my clothes were dirty or my room wasn't always spotless. I mean, they clearly loved me and cared for me deeply. I understand they were raising me the best way they knew how, but it was a bit too much for me. I felt like I never had any leeway when it came to my parents. Mistakes simply weren't permitted. You can imagine the stress I was put through every single day. So it's no wonder I preferred being at school, or that I found any excuse to spend time in my friends' homes. I tried talking to my parents about it, but they explained that they knew best, and that one day I'd understand, and I'd be really grateful then. I thought they were ignoring my feelings, and that led me to making the first big mistake of my young life. I wanted to rebel against them, and that's when I began hanging out with the wrong crowd in school. It happened when my parents decided to move us to the other side of the country, without even asking me what I felt about it. One day, Mom announced she had gotten a great job offer and that we'd be moving in a week's time. I had to give up everything I had in my hometown. My friends, my girlfriend, everything I had known. I told them I didn't want to start anew during my senior year at high school, but they told me it was for the best. We'd be living in a bigger house and have more money to enjoy our free time. The problem was that with my parents, I rarely had free time. Not if they were around. So when I started my senior year in a brand new city and a brand new school, I decided I wanted to do something different. Something that would annoy my parents. I began hanging out with groups of teenagers I'd never been around before. They were rebellious and never studied. They also would drink, even if they were underage. Clearly not the kind of friends any parent wants their child to have. They were always talking back to the teachers as kids in class. I felt they were so cool, and they gave me the freedom to actually make mistakes. I now understand how much I was messing with my future by hanging out with them. But back then, it...
Can't be stuck in like this for weeks. Couldn't? Can't be stuck in like this for weeks. Well, I mean, if we have to, but it's hard, isn't it? Just chuck that on there a sec. God, how does it not drive you crazy, that buzz?
There's always been a buzz on every TV ever.
Maybe we need to move it to under somewhere, like put a towel underneath it or something just to stop it. What's to do?
The phone's not working.
Is it now?
No, it is, but it's
We'll have to get it fixed.
You'll put me more. Thank you.
In fact, to connect, I'll use this.
I'll bring it right to you. How do those taste?
These are a lot better.
Good. Hey, John. Okay.
These are a little better. If I can get a bowl.
Sure.
Thank you.
I'll bring it right to you.
Yeah.
Hello.
I put deodorant on yesterday.
Matter to me. I let myself be influenced by them, and I stopped making an effort as well. They prompted me to skip class with them, and we'd spend the whole day doing nothing, just hanging around, talking and drinking. I was really a mess. Looking back, I can't believe I let them pressure me into everything I did during that year. My parents were worried and forbade me from hanging out with these students, but I didn't listen. Mom and Dad were working so hard that they struggled to keep me in check as they had until we moved. My grades got so bad that even with my previous history, I wouldn't be graduating at the end of the school year. When my teacher told me this, I completely freaked out. It was one thing to hang out with a few slackers, but if my parents realized I wasn't going to be graduating, they'd kill me. I met with the school's principal and begged for a second chance. I explained how I had ambitions to get into a top-tier college, and up until that year, I had the grades and behavior to achieve it. He looked at my record and agreed that I had been an amazing, hardworking student up until I began hanging out with the wrong crowds. He explained that I would be given a chance to make up for the credit I was missing, but I wouldn't get a third chance. If I didn't get it right this time, it was game over. I immediately agreed and promised I would work really hard. So it was decided that I should stay after school and recover the credit I was missing. If I managed to show improvement before the school year was over, then I'd be able to graduate with the rest of my class, and it wouldn't affect my grades. This meant that I could actually get into a great college and make my parents proud after all. I felt so relieved, but annoyed at the same time. I didn't really feel like staying late every single day and missing anything fun. After all, I wouldn't have the time to hang out with friends or relax at all. However, I was the one who messed up, and this was the only way to avoid ruining my future. I couldn't allow a few mistakes to mess everything I was supposed to do with my life. Annoyed as I might be with these great actions, they were right in a way. I wasn't going to let a single year ruin all the effort I had put into my studies over time. So I ended up agreeing. What I could have never imagined was that I would meet the love of my life in that after-school program. I walked into the classroom, and there she was, perfect from head to toes, the most gorgeous woman I had ever seen. I must have stared openly at her, because she laughed and asked me to take a seat. Her laughter was stunning, and I couldn't help but smile at her like a fool. I was instantly smitten by her. I realized right that instant that love at first sight was absolutely real. She had dark brown hair and big green eyes. Her smile was beautiful, and she was so sweet and caring. She introduced herself as Miss Samantha Riley. Samantha really did care about her students. She wasn't there to roll her eyes at us and wait until the program was over. Other teachers didn't seem to mind if we learned or not. She asked me why I had to take these classes, and I explained the mistakes I had made. I told her all about how my parents were so strict and how I just wanted to rebel once in my life. I knew I had messed up and wanted to fix it, so it wouldn't affect my future. Surprisingly, she understood completely. Samantha told me she didn't believe that a student should be judged by just a handful of grades. She always focused more on the overall effort they had made through the year. I was so relieved and felt like I had found someone I could confide in. So, as the days went by, we began growing really close to each other. Samantha loved talking to me. She helped me study and complete my homework. She also wanted to know about me and my life. She wanted to be there for me, and I felt more and more in love with her as time went by. I wanted so badly to be her boyfriend, but I couldn't imagine a woman like her paying any attention to me. She would confide in me, though, telling me about her problems with her student loans. Samantha had graduated 3 years prior. She was really young. I think she was only 26 when we first met. Every student in school seemed to be in love with the hot young teacher, but she didn't pay them as much attention as she did me. One day, I couldn't stop myself any longer. I confessed my feelings for her and asked her to go on a date with me. She looked surprised at first, and I thought that she would scold me. Instead, Samantha kissed me. I melted in her arms as I kissed her back. It was the best moment of my entire life. Samantha... explained that she really liked me back, but that we couldn't let anyone know about us. If someone found out, not only would she lose her job, she might also be sent to jail for a long time. I didn't want to get her in any trouble, so of course I promised I wouldn't tell a soul. Samantha and I began seeing each other regularly after school. We also kissed in the classroom when no one else was around. We both knew what we were doing was wrong, but we didn't care. We were madly in love and wanted to spend our whole lives with each other. Sam and I began making plans for after I graduated. She promised she'd move close to the college I ended up being accepted into, and make our love public there. My parents never discovered what was going on with me and Sam. She pretended to be just another teacher to me whenever someone was around. I was one of the few students who claimed she wasn't really that hot. I needed to pretend I didn't like her after all. I wouldn't have been able to hide my feelings for her if I began speaking of how beautiful she was. We've been dating for 3 whole months, and I'll be graduating next week. Thanks to Sam, not only did I earn my missing credit, but I actually improved my grades in math. The principal is really proud of my improvement. He said he would write a recommendation letter for me to send with my college application. I'm a bit worried about graduating because that means soon I'll have to tell my parents about my relationship with Sam. They know her as my teacher, so it's not like I can claim she is someone I met at college. That's going to be a really awkward conversation, but I hope they'll understand. Sam and I are in love, and I'm not breaking up with her, no matter what my parents think about our relationship. At least I'll be away at college and not...
Hi, my name is Sally, and I want to tell you how I caught my mom going down on my boyfriend.
Hi, I'm Eddie, and I'm 17. I've never had any friends, and when I finally got one, she turned my life into a total mess. So much so that I don't even speak with my mum anymore. Here's the thing. Because of my dad's job, our family had to move a lot. Because of that, I was homeschooled. But my mum forced me to participate in various sports, or with other kids in school networks. And unlike my parents, I've always hated getting acquainted with new people. I used to think, why would I do that at all? If in the next few months or a year at most, we'll be moving again, and I'll have to meet someone else. So once, my mum brought me to a computer class. And there, I didn't have to engage with anybody but a machine. And I loved that. So it's sort of become my passion. Gradually, I mastered new skills in computer graphics and began to enjoy drawing my own comics. My mom often got mad at me for sitting in front of the screen all the time, and she invented different stuff to keep me from doing it. For example, once she invited her neighbors to the house, and they had a son who was my age, and she kind of forced me to socialize with the guy. So, I was sitting at the computer, and he appeared to be fond of sports. Well, actually, it was the only thing he could talk about. At some point, he started saying the computer guys were weak nerds, and I told him that athletes were stupid. So we began arguing, and I got really furious to the point that he was in my room. I pushed him as hard as I could, and he rolled head over heels downstairs. It's needless to say that after this incident, our neighbors didn't even say hello to us. But I tried my dad chose another position in his job, so that we'd no longer have to move all the time. We settled in a small town, and for some strange reason, my parents decided that it would be better for me to go to school like everybody else. Everything was new and strange, and as soon as everybody found out that I used to be a homeschooled computer nerd, they behaved as if I was cursed. Some of them played nasty tricks on me, like putting glue into my locked lock, or painting my hair so that I ruined my jeans. Apparently, my mom was hoping that since I started school, I'd immediately have lots of friends. And when this didn't happen, she kind of got worried. That really began to bother me. Once, for example, she said that she wanted to buy me new clothes. But when she finally managed to lure me out of the house, it turned out that instead of the mall, she took me to a psychiatrist. This literally outraged me to the core. I stayed silent during the whole session, and all the way back home, Mum kept putting me down for that. Mum didn't get discouraged either, and began to arrange parties at her house, where she invited mostly couples with children, and literally forced me to hang out with them. But as soon as they figured out that I didn't even have any social network accounts, they started thinking that I was weird or something. It was to my advantage, because I could freely go to my room and do my favorite thing, draw comics. By that time, by the way, I paid enough money to print out several of my works at a printing house, and on the very day that I was carrying my freshly printed work home, I ran into her. Leia. Everything fell out of my hands, and she dropped her handbag, and all of its contents scattered across the sidewalk. Feeling awkward, I began to apologize and started helping her collect everything. Suddenly, I noticed that she'd taken one of my books and began to study it carefully. For a minute or two, I just looked at her, and on the one hand, I felt indignant at the fact that she just took it so boldly. But on the other hand, she was the first to see it, and I was wondering what would happen next. She showed a vivid interest in my comics, and made a few comments, and we started walking together, and arguing over it, so that I didn't even notice how we suddenly appeared standing near my house. From that day on, we began meeting at cafes, and sometimes at my house, and working together on comics. It turned out that she also used to change cities and schools, and her parents resembled mine a lot. I was 16 back then, and she was already 18, and it was probably because of that age difference that it was so interesting for me to hang out with her. It turned out that there was some sort of computer graphics club in the town, and she not only took me there, but also joined it with me, even though she wasn't that into it herself. Gradually, I began feeling a romantic attraction towards Leia, and was ready for anything with her. And at some point, I began taking advantage of it. For example, once I found out that she really wanted to go to the beach. It was pretty far from where we lived, and there was no chance of getting there without a car. I knew that my parents would never allow me to go that far on my own. So, I lied to my mom, and said that I needed to take her car to help a friend of mine move. And she was so happy that I, supposedly, began to have a lot of friends, that she agreed. But when Leia and I were in the car and on our way, she started begging me to teach her to drive. Of course, I wanted to make her happy, but then something went wrong. She got distracted, hit a tree, damaged the front part of the car. I couldn't tell my parents the truth, so I had to say that I was driving, and they grounded me for this. There were also a few cases when Leia complained about not having any money. I was willing to help her, so I gave her all my pocket money that my mom and dad gave me. And once or twice, I even secretly took my dad's cash from his pocket when he had some. He was so surprised to find out about the loss, but of course, I pretended that I knew nothing about it. I was just so proud of myself for being able to help the girl that I liked. But then, I kind of screwed things up. When I finally decided to show Leia how I felt about her. One day, we were sitting in my room, trying to come up with a new comic book idea. In one moment, she bent so low over the table to draw something that her hair touched my cheek. But as soon as I tried to kiss her, she immediately bounced back a couple of feet. I stared at each other for a couple of seconds, but it felt like eternity had passed. I started saying how sorry I was and promised that I'd never do anything like that again. But Leia cut me short and said that it was actually her who was sorry for what she was about to tell me. And that's when I found out that my mum had literally bought her for me. She paid Leia the day we met each other to make her be my friend. And she even promised to up the payment if she succeeded in becoming my friend. Leia's eyes were full of tears. She begged me to forgive her. She kept saying something else like she really enjoyed my company and other stuff like that. But I didn't want to listen to her. I didn't believe her. I guess it's needless to say that I immediately kicked her out of my room. I locked myself in there and didn't respond to any suggestions from my mom to go out. She understood nothing, so I realized that Leia told her nothing. I felt that my whole world had just come crashing down. At first, all I could do was lie on my bed, trying to get rid of all the memories of my friend. Then my eyes wandered over to my comics, or rather, the parts of which I wrote. and the ones that Leah and I had managed to come up with together. Then, I did what I'll probably regret the rest of my life. I destroyed each and every one of them. From that day on, I deliberately tried to not even look at my mom. And of course, I wasn't going to discuss with her what happened. I just kept silent. At first, that made her furious. Then, she got desperate and started begging me to explain everything. Then, she and my dad even took my computer out of my room as a punishment. And promised to send me to a special camp for screwed up kids. But even this didn't help. While my parents were freaking out around me, I just kept lying on my bed. When one morning, I went down to the kitchen to have breakfast, and saw Leah drinking coffee and waiting for me. I had no intentions of talking to her. Something inside me. She said that she used to date one guy, but that he had gotten into a lot of trouble. In order to help him, she took all the money that her mum had at home. But he went to jail anyway, and Leah was afraid that her mum would find everything out. So she decided to try and earn that money herself, as fast as she could. By a stroke of luck, her aunt, who was actually one of Mum's friends, told her about my mum's problems with me, and Leah had the idea that she could become my friend for money. The more we hung out together, the more she liked me. When I tried to kiss her, she understood that she had to be honest with me. I know that this might sound awkward to many of you, but during that period, when we weren't socializing with each other, I missed Leah a lot, and I doubted that I could ever find someone else to be so close with. So, I kinda decided to give her one more chance. By the way, we agreed to not tell my mom that I was already aware of her vicious plan, so that she'd continue to pay Leah for her friendship with me for a few more months. She still had a couple of $100 to earn, and I still have no intention of talking with my mom.
Hey, I'm Annie. Welcome to my gossip vlog. Straight to the point. I have a superpower for attracting strange people doing weird things. I'm actually one myself. I thought it would be a shame to not talk about them to the whole world. So I decided to share these stories on YouTube because not only are they weird, but explosively juicy, like a Coke and Mentos combination. But please don't tell my friends. Some of them would get mad. I even changed the names. And if you recognize yourself, then sorry, I guess. Also, please say hello to my friend Dave, who is animating this story. He is a huge nerd. Dave, please don't get revenge by adding a big nose on me. The reason I wanted to start sharing these stories is one call I got a few days ago about Tinder. Or, to be more specific, from my friend Trish, who used it and later told me this story. She could barely contain her tears, while I, on the other hand, could barely contain my laughter. And the worst part is that it was kinda my fault. Buckle up, cause it's gonna be a wild ride. I love Trish with all my heart. She's a great friend. But also, she is very annoying when it comes to guys. Like, she would have a new crush every week, already imagining how they would be together forever. And surprise, surprise, when it all ends, she ends up crying for a week while listening to sad pop songs from the 1980s. Honestly, I'm pretty sure she secretly likes to suffer, but she would never admit to that because then it's not really suffering, right? So after a series of failed relationships and being alone for a while, she started whining constantly about wanting a boyfriend. Of course, I wanted to help her because otherwise she just wouldn't shut up. And of course, I recommended Tinder to her because she's never used it. Why? Well, to inaccurately quote her, because I want it to be fate, you know? Like in the movies when we accidentally meet in the library and I drop my books and he helps me pick them up. Yeah, Trish, we know you never go to the library, so at least replace books with your faded lover spilling an XXL pumpkin frappuccino on you at Starbucks. Anyway, I told her to stop being an idiot and to try to find her prince on Tinder if real life wasn't working out for her. And if your definition of a prince is a psychotic crazy person, then you are very lucky. And Trish wasn't. I'm glad I gave her this advice. Not because it was good, but because it turned out to be funny. For me, not for her. After a few weeks, I got a call from Trish, and she told me her sad sob story. So she started to carefully experiment with Tinder after swiping left on countless frat boys, weird men in their 50s, and desperate guys with photoshopped abs. She finally swiped right. His name was Derek. And holy cow, he was normal, polite, charming, and even funny. They went on a date to a restaurant shortly after. And oh boy, Trish immediately started to imagine which wedding dress she would wear and what their 7th child would look like. He was attentive and good-looking, and more importantly, into stupid stuff like astrology. Sorry, not sorry, for anyone watching who believes in astrology. What could go wrong? Do you know those jokes that start with, a horse walks into a bar? Absurd, yes, but not as sad as, Derek's mom walks into a restaurant to check out how her son is doing. Yes, his mom walked in. And by the way, about boyfriends and moms, look at this guy. Yeah, look at his stupid face. Really look at it. It's my ex. You may wonder why I'm showing this and why I'm interrupting the story about Trish. Well, just wait. This whole story is like the Titanic hitting the iceberg, but only cringier and way more stupid. So it was around 3 years ago. His name was, let's just call him Seth. We were always together, like every day, so much so that my friends forgot what I looked like for a while. Well, maybe they remembered my nose, right, Dave? Anyway, he hung out at our place a lot, and he got along with my dad very well, but my dad gets along with everyone. Seth would even help him with repairing my car. My mom liked him as well, and they often drank tea together while I was doing my own stuff. It was nice having Seth around, even when I was busy. He got along with them so well that sometimes he was even at our place when I was somewhere else. My mom is a cool lady. She has a great sense of humor, and nothing can faze her. One day, she casually asked me what the deal was with Seth and why he always tried to hug her. I just responded that he was like that. He also always hugged me, and I guess that he was just extremely friendly, like a teddy bear. So I completely forgot about this conversation and didn't even think about it again. I remembered it when my mom had a birthday. I was at college, but I kind of felt sick and had decided to go home. My mom was shopping at a nearby mall at the time, so we met up and went home together. While we were driving home, my damn guy called my mom and said that he had a birthday gift for her and asked where we keep the spare key. So she told him, and we just continued our drive. It felt so nice that my beloved boyfriend was so attentive to me and my mom that he even went out of his way to surprise her. Yeah. So we arrived home, opened the door, and voila! Right there on our sofa, Seth was lying there. In a hat, and his bow tie, and in his boxers. And that was it. He had nothing else on. I was just, what? My mom started to laugh hysterically, and Seth, surprised to see me, ran outside in shame for getting his hat. So I guess he was the gift for my mom. And I mean, his reaction, what did he expect? Jeez, the teddy bear turned out to be too friendly. I've wanted to do this for a long time. Been telling this story to people. Ugh, it feels so good to finally share it. And I mean, I love this dude. Wanted to marry him and stuff, and he just turned out to be an idiot. Later, I had to return his hat to him, but that's a completely different story. Oh, yeah. About Trish. As I was saying, Derek's mom went to check up on her son right in the middle of their first date. At this point, Trish felt more like she was at a police interrogation. You know how they show them in the movies, when detectives shine the lamplight right in the eyes of the person they're interrogating? This horrible woman was asking Trish questions like, Who are your parents? What do you do for a living? And this was only the beginning. Then she started to tell Trish how she should change. You have to lose some weight and fix your posture. It's not good for a young girl to slump like that. Well, this horrible thing was happening and Trish was too stunned to react in any way. Derek was just nodding with a serious look on his face. After a while, Trish stood up and got ready to leave. Derek's mother stopped her because, get this, Derek's mom had already bought 2 tickets so they could go to a movie, and the date was not over until they finished watching it. So, of course, at this point, Trish decided that it was too crazy and walked into the sunset, never looking back. And on the way back, she bumped into a nice guy, and then they started dating. Nah, I'm just pulling your leg. Instead, she made the genius decision to stay, because maybe if she could comply with the wishes of the witch mom, the date would go better. So she and Derek went to the movie, and his mother, thankfully, went away, although Trish was looking around the cinema hall in fear of spotting her somewhere, standing there like a slender man. She couldn't concentrate on the movie at all, and was thinking that maybe she could just sneak out, act like she was going to the toilet, and just leave. So she did just that. Well, guess what? Derek followed her to the toilet because he thought it was the gentlemanly thing to do. I wonder who taught him that, She was then forced to return and finish the movie. At some point, Derek put a sweaty palm on Trish's knee and kept it there through the whole movie. When Trish started to object, Derek said that she should be thankful for him wasting his money on her. And poor little timid Trish couldn't object to that. Trish was ready at any moment for another hand to appear on her other knee belonging to Derek's mother. Thankfully, that didn't happen. Anyway, when the movie ended, Trish was relieved. They went outside, and Derek was still trying to chat with her, completely oblivious to Trish being freaked out and annoyed. Trish was ready to leave when someone called Trish's phone. Have you already guessed who it was? Oh, yeah! Derek's mom called and said that Trish should take him home because it might be dangerous. I think something clicked in Trish's head at that point, so she finally just turned the other way and started walking without saying a word to Derek, who just stood there, confused as to what had just happened. Yeah, maybe in his mind what was happening was totally normal. So afterward, Trish called me all sad and almost crying and told me this story, and I just started laughing. And Trish got even more upset and didn't want to talk with me for a few days afterward. Later, she started laughing at the situation too, and you might think that she has finally learned her lesson. But no, she continues to be attracted to weird guys like flies to... Oh, never mind. It's good news for me though, because I have way more stories about Trish, and not just about her. That's it for now. I have a lot of other stories to share with you, but later. Subscribe to this channel.
Casino, where the nation plays.
Alright, Draw My Life was a trend a few years ago that I never really did. Part of it was because I saw people online that did insane ones and it was like, oh, I don't have the skill set to do that. Part of it was also, I mean, it's a lot of drawing you have to do and stuff. I was going to actually get it animated, but that would have taken even longer. Draw Their Life. This channel, 600,000 subscribers, they have basically done Draw My Life for everyone. From Billie Eilish to James Charles to Ali A. They've even done JJ. 2 weeks ago they uploaded a Vinnie Vincent Draw My Life. So, to save me from having to do it, I'm going to watch this and just see if everything's right. I'm just saying, I'm doing better than Jacksepticeye. I'm just throwing it out there. Jeez, but a lot of people want to know about Hawks. Maybe they want to know where he was created. Right, let's see what the comments are. The way you say Talia hurts my skin. No, these are all just... Oh, these are all things saying that they've done it wrong. Okay, well, you know what? I'll be the judge.
Welcome to another episode of Draw Their Life. And today's episode is made possible...
No. We ain't having no ads. Alright, here we go.
The awesome life of Mini Minter.
Hell,
You don't know
hell
who Mini
yeah.
is. Let me break it down for you. Mini Minter, aka Sunny, is a massive YouTuber with 8.3 million subscribers on his YouTube
Big up me, 8.3 you saying? We need to get 10. I want that Dharma play button.
Prominent member of Science. Mini Ninja started his YouTube career with FIFA gaming. And
Why they gonna do me with the pink hair? This was done 2 weeks ago. I ain't had pink hair in a long time. Leave me on the thumbnail with pink hair.
currently, Mini Ninja is mainly focused on doing challenge videos, group videos, and that kind of stuff.
Okay.
He started his YouTube channel when he was in school. Then he dropped out of college and did full-time.
Aye. Well, the first thing, I didn't start while I was in school. I started when I was in uni. I'll allow them because he sounds American, so college, uni. I dropped out of uni as well. And look at me now. Who needs uni, kids? Drop out. Don't drop out. Don't drop out.
To be able to pursue YouTube as a full-time job, he had to work in a factory as a low-wage worker. Mini Minter and KSI are school buddies, and KSI helped him a lot in shaping his YouTube channel. In
That's
today's
true.
episode, we're going to cover it all. But before we get into the video, comment below, who's your favorite member in the Simon? And let's get right into the video.
Wait, he asked them to comment who's the favourite member. Did anyone actually... No one says, my favourite member is Harry. Oh, for fuck's sake. There's no Edward in his name, nor was he a factory worker. He was helping change his clothing line. Firstly, my middle name's Edward. Secondly, I worked in a warehouse for the shop called Temptations. It's not a sex shop, that's what it sounds like. I worked there, and that's where I learned how to do the whole, like, packaging and shipping off and stuff. And that's why I then started doing JJ's clothing line. So me and JJ set it up because I kind of knew how to do it. You should react to this in a sense of accuracy. Easy main channel video. I mean, you were close. The second channel video. I love when people say like, oh, let us know in the comments, and it's just like no one does it. Speaking of which, let me know which your favourite flavour of McCoy's Christmas are. I can't even begin to comprehend having 1 million subs. I'd have to do something pretty special, I guess, for 1 million.
Mini Minter is the channel of Simon.
Yeah, that's me! They just took my Instagram.
September 7th, 1992.
That's true.
Makes him 27 years old.
I'm old!
Simon's mom is from Leeds, England. He has 2 elderly. When Simon was 3 or 4 years old,
True.
his mother moved to Hemel and her
No, close. Very close. Very close. My mum's from Leeds, but I was born in, like, not gonna say where, because it just really makes me posher than I already am. And, yeah, I actually lived there, and then moved out to Hemel where I was 3 or 4. I didn't live in Leeds.
the perfect school there. Simon's entire schooling was done in this school. Many people may not know this, but KSI was actually a school friend. KSI started his YouTube channel during their school period. He dropped out in the 7th year. However, Simon found out about it.
7. That's year 7. That's where I met JJ. I met JJ year 7. We hated each other. Year 8, we hated each other, and then became friends. And then he dropped out in year 12.
However, Simon found out about it doing YouTube. He got interested in what KSI was doing and was helping out around. Simon covered video presents, developed shoes, so Simon
I mean, that bit's true. I never edited to JJ. I actually was looking to learn how to edit so I could help him with everything. But no, JJ edited everything himself. I basically took camera for him when he needed it. As he said, when he needed a white guy. I mean, me and JJ just hung out as mates, obviously, and he was doing YouTube, so it was one of those things where it was just like, oh, you know, you need to film something, let me hold the camera for you, because then you can do it this way, blah, blah, blah. I was a very missing part of, like, videos. Obviously, there's some where I was the white guy in the video, and that was like a little bit more. I mean, no, it's close. I didn't edit though. That's the main thing.
So Simon had his thoughts of starting his own YouTube channel. During his senior high school, he was so much into football. He used to play like
That's not that into football. 3 days a week is not into football. I was playing Sunday league. I was playing Sunday, I'd train Tuesday, and I'd do school football Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then a match on Saturday. I was playing 6 days a week, and at this point, I didn't have thoughts of starting my own YouTube channel. I only had a thought of starting my own YouTube channel once I started doing this clothing line, and I was like, I've got a lot of free time after it. Because I worked from home, I was like, oh, what am I going to do in the evening? All my mates are at uni, having a fun time, I'm here packing clothes. Might as well start a YouTube channel.
after Simon doing YouTube. He was doing criminology at the Hope University in London.
Simon.
Simon said that he enrolled for the wrong course and
I look good there, you know. I look good now.
Pretty miserable.
I think it's the camera quality.
I don't know. It would have been a waste of time me staying
I feel like I have a good face for like blurry cameras. Like if you can just blur the camera a little bit, I look good. See like this, like I look good now, right? But then this, where it's like HD, not so great.
So, he thought of starting a YouTube channel for gaming, and he likes playing video games.
Yep.
He loves his football.
Hell yeah, I do. What was that clip?
His first video, and within almost 3 weeks with that, he couldn't muster his courage to go ahead and upload it. Finally, after much he decided to start out.
See, look, that's no. I'm a piece of
I was pretty scared to upload it, and
He uploaded his first video on December 7th, 2012, in his channel named Mini.
Hell yeah!
hi guys, welcome to my first video.
Oh, why does everyone's first video sound like they don't want to be there?
Hey guys, today I'm going to
He started uploading videos after this, but very irregularly. Sometimes one video a week, or sometimes one video a month. Meanwhile,
I see how that's true.
If he's gonna quit studies, then he has to join some work. He can't simply while away sitting at home. So Simon decided to work and continue with his YouTube channel along with the job.
I mean, that's kind of true. Hanging out with JJ and seeing, like, the stuff he did, that's not what I would do. I'm doing criminology and it's like, I always had a dream of being, like, a detective or something, but criminology was not the right course for me at that time. That wasn't the way I wanted to go about it. And then hanging out with JJ and seeing, like, what he was doing, and I'd have so much fun. And then about my parents, like, they weren't completely against me. They were like, oh, but the way that came about was like, oh, his parents,
In February 2013, he came on camera for the first time.
ah!
Yay.
Oh! This is why I didn't go on camera.
Starting a vlog series then. By July 2013, he moved from one video per week to almost two. He was pretty good. He was only playing FIFA 13 in this channel, and a lot of his
Where's my chest?
on this channel since then.
Oh, no, I can't.
Simon wanted to play and upload other random games also. So in September 2013, he started a second channel called MM7 Games.
Shut up! Bring up this channel.
Minecraft GTA videos there. By November 2013, channel was growing greatly. Okay, now
when you can scramble them with a little rubber, like a hot pan, a cook can heal the sick, feed the masses, and raise the dead. So choose your weapon and transform nothing into everything. Where there are cooks, there is hope.
as we know, Simon and KSI were school friends. Taking Toby and Josh live streets apart.
Okay, he kind of ignored the fact that we met Toby and Josh through playing games with them. I also kind of knew Ethan by this point, I think. And he hasn't mentioned the fact that I was uploading daily at this point. I was uploading daily. In fact, I was uploading 21 videos a week at this point. I was doing 2 on my second channel. No, soon anyway. Soon I'll be uploading 21
videos a week. 7 on my main channel and 14 on my second channel.
They all played GTA now. Harry and Vic.
So Ethan was at the same time as Toby and Josh. I know I met Toby before, and I did like a football video with Toby, but in terms of like GTA, it was the 5 of us first. Toby, Josh, JJ, me, and Ethan. Then Vic, then Harry.
They all thought it'd be fun to record. When they first thought of being in house, they all lived nearby each other and decided to go ahead with the idea.
See, we didn't. We didn't. Toby was at uni, Ethan was at school or college. And the reason we got the house was because Vic lived in Sheffield, Josh lived in like South London, and me and JJ lived northwest. So we thought, you know what, we don't live near each other, let's all move in. I mean, this is pretty accurate though for like someone else doing it. Obviously I know it because it's me. For someone that doesn't know me personally, this is pretty accurate.
Named it Sidemen. It was in February 2014.
Simon, yeah, but then, no, 2013 was when we made the Sidemen. That was the house. The house was 2014. He did say, but he ignored the fact that the Sidemen was 2013.
Later, many others also joined the Sidemen House. Moving to Sidemen House was a major turning point.
No! Okay, it's getting worse, Me, Vic, JJ, Josh, we all moved into the Sidemen house, and that was like it.
If you guys didn't know, I moved into a house at the moment. It's me, Zerka, and Big Star. We are just waiting on the last member, JJ.
That's why I'm drinking a lot of Red Bull. Like, at that point, I'm drinking like 3 Red Bulls a day. I had no blood in my face. The only reason I got bags now is because I'm jet lagged and
He
fucked.
left his warehouse job and became a full-time gamer. This made him to upload consistently 1 video per day in both of his channels. Also, the videos with his fellow gamers helped each of their channels a lot. The content became more interesting and varied. Simon continued this for the next couple of years.
See, it's close. I started before the house. I started doing daily before the house because I remember every day I had to upload on my laptop at home. I had to always I think it was upload. So I had to upload my videos at like 10 p.m. finish at 4 a.m. upload it. Wake up, upload the next one. Wake up, upload the next one while I went and got like dressed and showered and everything, and then I'd start recording again. But the warehouse job was my main income when I moved into that house. I was still doing JJ's clothing line. When I moved into that house, literally that was the gamble. I think I did it for a while as well. Like I did it for 6 months or something while in the house.
The subscribers and views were increasing. FIFA and any football games available. In May 2016, Sidemen Group decided to start a common YouTube channel for them. The channel basically showed all the content they made as a team. It grew fast.
I just jumped forward like multiple years. Like what happened to the second house? What happened to Sidemen Clothing? What happened? I don't know. What happened? I hit 1 million this time.
Yielding millions of subscribers and views.
Welcome to the Sidemen channel. Hey guys, and welcome to the Sidemen channel. Hey guys, and welcome to the Sidemen channel. Hey guys, and welcome to the Sidemen channel.
In September 2016,
I'm so gassed we started that, you know. Think if we didn't start that. That channel started then, so we could do our charity match. But now, if we had made it then, I don't know if it would be about now. That channel's the most fun. Out of all of the channels all of us have, I think we should enjoy that channel the most.
and its channel hit 5 million subs. In February 2018, a second channel was started for Sidemen. This channel had some extra videos of the Sidemen members, more fun stuff.
The lie detector test with my girlfriend, Talia.
Her name is Talia, and
Shut up! You literally just heard it! That's why the comments went bad. You just heard me say Talia and you said Talia. How's that happen then? Talia.
her name is Talia, and she's a YouTuber. She had her channel from 2016 and is into makeup and fashion. Soon, Simon appeared in her channel, and she became a part of the Mini Minter videos frequently. His viewers loved the challenges and vlogs they did together with their friends and family. Through 2018, his channel grew to many more millions.
Sure.
Every
They made her look like a... I don't know. I'm not judging.
things going great. However, as time passed, many members of the Sidemen channel moved out to their own houses or other places.
That's true.
Even though the channels continued, they started living separately. By the end of 2018, it was only Simon and JJ in the house. In January 2019, it was their turn. Simon moved out of the mansion and acquired a flat along with KSI.
Okay, that's pretty
Even though the
accurate.
members are not staying together, they still do videos together regularly. and both the channels are going very good.
Yeah, they are.
Simon kind of stopped uploading regularly on his main channel. He got a lot of questions from fans and followers regarding this. In May 2019, Simon talked to his viewers. Simon told them that he's tired of regular uploads and he's not motivated enough to upload. He had been uploading one video per day on both his channels for the last 5 years. And
3, 2 on my second, 1 on the next. Whatever, it's fine, it's fine. The real reason I stopped uploading, I mean, that is true, I'm not motivated. I mean, part of it was I used to upload FIFA on my main channel, which is a very easy thing to do daily. Nowadays, like, a real life video on my main channel every day, that's overkill. Now, each video takes a lot longer. Like, my last main channel video I did was literally 24 hours going to every Premier League stadium, and it took 24 hours. So then you have so much more footage, it takes so much longer to edit. The effort levels have gone up. It's because of people like Mr. Beast, for example, and I don't know, for example. Their level is so high that and you can't just upload challenges anymore. You can every now and then, but if your channel is just that, you'll fall behind quite badly.
back in the day, it was high time he take a break from his life.
My main channel was just burnt out. For 4 years I was posting every single day. I know a lot of them were gaming videos and stuff, but now I'm kind of just in that dull period right now where I don't really know what I want to do.
However, he told that he enjoyed doing quick videos, so Simon's channel had his regular uploads with him, and his second channel was also doing well.
I still feel
It
like
was
that.
just that he didn't enjoy doing much by himself in his main channel. As of now, he has 8.2 million subs in his channel, Mini Minter, and
8.3 now.
2 million views.
Hell
Each
yeah.
of his channels gets an average of 1.5 million views. He uploads once in a week or twice. His second channel has 3.8 million subs, in which he uploads daily.
Yeah,
Everything
dude.
aside, guys, I think Simon's a great guy. He's been consistently working hard to reach where he is now. From having 100 subs, he's worked his way up to millions of fans in his channel. He's always open to new opportunities and has used every given chance to excel in what he does. He has a long way to go, and we wish him all the very best. Use Wi-Fi, that you guys need a
No more ads. That was a very abrupt end. But yeah, that's it. I mean, I felt like it did a lot of the start part, and then it kind of skipped the main YouTube part. Admittedly, they got their 10-minute video, they didn't need to. But Draw Their Life, that's very, very, very sick animation. It was pretty accurate. It was a very good video. You've earned yourself a subscriber. If you guys want to check it out, feel free to check it out. I'll leave it in the description, hopefully, if I remember. But if not, I'm shouting them out right now. Draw Their Life. So go give them a watch. I don't know if they've done a side bet one. Feel free to do one and we might react to it on more side bet. But that's it for today. Thank you guys for listening. Like and enjoy. And push.
Good news. The Grand Big Mac is back, and for the first time, Big Mac special sauce box.
Happy Mother's Day.
Oh, so we can talk more. It's a portal. Right.
Really, sis?
Hi, Mum. Oh, what's that?
And your brother's flowers died.
Grandpa's gonna love this.
Where's dinner ready, Mum?
No flowers this time.
Hey, make sure you ain't no eat. Is it cool if I bring my sister? No, Judith, we're trying to. Yeah, she can come.
That was, yeah.
I got 18. I got 9.5. I got Abraham Lincoln. What's up, man?
There's only one thing worse than a rapist. Boom. A child. No.
How do you know if you're gay? Why does my penis grow in the morning? I don't want a penis. No, the penis. So you guys. So you guys, if you want to shout out, you just need to do it with me, then I shout you out already. Okay, you guys? Baby, highway downtown. My wife took my kids. I'm going to jump off a bridge. You will fuck. That's what is in my home. Change my state of mind.
Alright, let's compose ourselves.
My response is I don't know. So a pair of scissors. What made me think? Scissoring. Scissoring
Ladies and gentlemen, we got
One time my ex-husband left my kids behind alone without any supervision. And he went with his third wife, which was at that time was his girlfriend, to the store. And my kids took a hammer and broke the table, which is a glass table, by the way.
So are you good, girl? Right back, guys. I have this question for a real long time. Bad boy, and it's plain to see. So why do girls fall in love with me?
Everyone loves a wee joke. He's a bad guy because he's not using the strap.
This is the strap on the Wii controller. Do the trick.
Oh god!
Fuck's sake.
You just do that because I did.
Yeah!
Come on!
I didn't get it.
Yeah, do the issue.
ain't got that dope.
I'm already Winston.
I get something Genji,
I'm already Genji.
then I'll be McCree.
I already took the creed.
I have an idea.
What's your idea?
You should go back to the basics.
Take 2 steps forward if you've ever gotten a victory royale. Take 2 steps forward if your dad loves you. Take 2 steps forward if your Minecraft girlfriend broke up with you.
Found it wasn't so high. I can't go. I was like,
Take 2 steps forward if you've ever gotten a victory royale. Take 2 steps forward if your dad loves you. Take 2 steps forward if your Minecraft girlfriend broke up with you.
On my mama, on my hoo-hoo, I look fly, yeah, I look cool, that's my swag.
Oh my god. What happened to her? She's adorable. What do you mean what happened to her?
Holy shit, you got something. You are a Shit!
Hey Siri, call my girlfriend.
Which one?
Hey Siri, call my girlfriend.
Which one?
Oh my
Man, this video is disgusting.
If I had wings like this, though, why I fly away and be at rest?
Okay, class, let's take rolls. Shithead?
It's Shazam!
Kevin Collins, run in here and come get y'all juice.
Shit!
That is the most annoying thing ever.